The transport shuttle landed with a heavy thud at Denver's spaceport. Jake Morrison grabbed his old military bag and walked down the metal steps. His boots made loud sounds on the ground. After 3 long years fighting aliens in space, he was finally home. Jake looked different now. His left arm was made of metal and wires. Burns from alien weapons had left scars on his face and neck. The worst parts were the things nobody could see. The memories of friends who died. The sounds of battle that played in his head at night. He caught a bus to Millbrook, his small hometown in the mountains. During the long ride, Jake watched the trees and rocks pass by. Everything looked the same, but something felt wrong. When the bus stopped in town, Jake knew why. Big signs with Nexus Industries were everywhere. The old shops were gone. Instead, there were clean white buildings with the same company logo. People walked around in matching uniforms. Even the bus stop had cameras watching everyone. Jake walked to his childhood home on Oak Street. A metal fence now surrounded the house. The sign said, "Property of Nexus Industries, no trespassing." His heart sank. This was where he grew up, where his mother used to make pancakes on Sunday mornings, where his father taught him to fix cars. In the garage, an old man in a dirty coat walked up to him. "You looking for someone, son?" "I used to live here," Jake said. "I'm Jake Morrison, Frank Morrison's boy." The old man's eyes went wide. "Jake, you're back from the war? Your father talks about you all the time. He lives in the company housing now. Block C, Unit 47. Jake found the housing blocks on the other side of town. They were tall, gray buildings with small windows. Everything looked the same. He climbed to the 4th floor and knocked on door 47. "Coming," a voice called. The door opened, and there stood his father. Frank Morrison was thinner than before. His hair was completely white now, but his smile was the same. "Jake." Frank hugged his son tight. "You're home. You're really home." They sat in the small apartment. It had 1 bedroom, a tiny kitchen, and a living room barely big enough for 2 chairs. Jake remembered their old house, with its big yard and 3 bedrooms. "What happened, Dad?" Jake asked. "Where's our house?" Frank's face grew sad. "Nexus came to town about 2 years ago. They said they wanted to help us, bring jobs and make things better. But they started buying everything. The grocery store, the gas station, even the bank. But our house. I lost my job at the lumber mill when Nexus bought it. Couldn't pay the mortgage. They said I could live here for free if I signed their papers. I didn't have a choice, son." Jake felt angry. He had fought aliens to protect Earth, to protect places like Millbrook.
Boys.
But while he was gone, his own home had been stolen. The next morning, Jake walked around town. Everything was different. Old diner, where he used to eat, was now a Nexus nutrition center. The hardware store was a Nexus supply depot. Even the park had signs saying Nexus Community Space. People looked scared. They walked fast and didn't make eye contact. Security guards in black uniforms stood on every corner. They carried weapons. That looked too advanced for small-town police. Jake went to the employment office to look for work. A woman behind a desk gave him forms to fill out. When she saw his military service record, her face changed. "I'm sorry," she said. "We don't have any positions available?" "But I just saw a help wanted sign outside," Jake said. "Those positions have been filled," she replied quickly. She wouldn't look at him. Jake tried 5 more places that day. The same thing happened each time. As soon as they saw he was a veteran, they suddenly had no jobs. That evening, Jake sat with his father in the small apartment. "Nobody will hire me, Dad. It's like they're all afraid of something." Frank lowered his voice. "It's Captain Blake. He runs security for Nexus. He used to be military too, but something's wrong with him. Hates veterans. Says we're dangerous. That we might cause trouble." "What kind of trouble? The kind where people ask questions?"
Where?
"They don't just do what they're told." The next day, Jake noticed he was being followed. 2 security guards in black uniforms stayed about 50 feet behind him wherever he went. When he stopped, they stopped. When he turned around, they pretended to look at something else. He led them on a chase through the back streets. His military training kicked in, used doorways and alleys to stay hidden. After an hour, he had lost them, but the message was clear. He was being watched. That night, 3 security guards came to the apartment. Their leader was a tall man, with cold eyes and a scar across his chin. Jake Morrison. The man asked. Yes. I'm Captain Ryan Blake. I run security for Nexus Industries. I want to talk to you. Blake pushed past Jake into the apartment. Frank stood up from his chair, but Blake waved him back down. Sit down, old man. This doesn't concern you. Blake turned to Jake. I know who you are, war hero. Fought the aliens. Saved humanity. His voice was full of mockery. But this isn't the war zone. This is my town now. And I don't like troublemakers. I'm not making trouble, Jake said. I'm just looking for work. Are you? Or are you looking to cause problems? Veterans think they're special, think they deserve something. But I've got news for you. The war is over. Nobody cares about your service anymore. Blake stepped closer. Here's how it works. You keep your head down. You don't ask questions. You don't talk to people about the old days. And maybe, just maybe, you get to stay in this nice little apartment with Daddy. Jake felt his anger rising. His metal hand began to close into a fist. Blake saw it and smiled. Go ahead, Blake said. Take a swing. Give me a reason to arrest you. Then you can see how comfortable our jail cells are. Jake forced himself to stay calm. He'd learned in the war that sometimes the best strategy was to wait. Blake turned. To leave. Remember what I said, Morrison? This is my town now. Don't forget it. After Blake left, Frank put his hand on Jake's shoulder. I'm sorry, son. This is what it's like here now. This is what we've become. Jake looked out the small window at the town below. Somewhere out there were other veterans. Other people who had lost their homes and jobs. Blake thought he had one. But Jake had fought aliens who were bigger, stronger, and smarter than any corporate bully. The war wasn't over. It had just moved to a new battlefield. Jake woke up early the next morning. He had a plan. If nobody would hire him officially, he would find work another way. He also wanted to find other veterans, like had made a mistake by threatening him. It meant there were others like him in town. He started at the Nexus Nutrition Center. It's a building that used to be Pete's Diner, the new manager. A nervous young man named Gary was having trouble with the coffee machine. I can fix that, Jake offered. I used to repair equipment in the Army. Gary looked around nervously. I don't know. Are you on the approved worker list? It's just the coffee machine. Won't charge you anything. Jake fixed the machine in 10 minutes. Gary was grateful, but still scared. Thanks, but please don't tell anyone I let you help. Captain Blake doesn't like unauthorized workers. As Jake left, he noticed a woman emptying trash cans behind the building. She was about his age, with short brown hair and tired eyes. Something about the way she moved looked familiar. Military bearing. Excuse me, Jake said. Did you serve? The woman looked up sharply. Who's asking? Morrison. Army. Just got back from the Centauri War. Her expression softened slightly. Lisa Chen. Navy pilot. To tours against the aliens. What are you doing here? Lisa laughed bitterly. Same thing as you, I guess. Trying to survive. Used to fly fighters. Now I empty garbage cans for Nexus. Talked quietly while Lisa worked. She'd been back for 6 months. Like Jake, nobody would hire her for anything decent. Nexus had offered her the janitor job, but only after she signed papers saying she wouldn't discuss her military service. There are others, Lisa said. Sam Rodriguez used to be a Marine. Now he does odd jobs around town. Lex Thompson was an Army medic. He can't even get work at the hospital because Nexus says his military medical training doesn't count. Blake told you the same thing he told me? Worse. He said veterans are mentally unstable, that we might snap and hurt people. He's been spreading rumors about us around town. Jake felt his anger building again. We fought for these people. We risked our lives to protect Earth. Blake doesn't care. He's got his own agenda. Nexus backs him up. That afternoon, Jake met Sam Rodriguez at the old baseball field. Sam was a big man with gentle eyes and hands that shook slightly when he wasn't working. He was repairing a broken fence. Lisa said you wanted to talk? Sam said, I want to understand what's happening here. Why Blake hates veterans so much. Sam looked around to make sure nobody was listening. It's not just hate, it's fear. Veterans, Ask questions. We don't just follow orders blindly. We've seen what real enemies look like. What do you mean? Think about it. Nexus shows up and takes over everything. They promise jobs and security, but they control every aspect of people's lives. Where they live, where they work, what they eat. Sound familiar? Jake thought about the alien prison camps he had liberated during the war. The same total control over every detail of life? You think they're like the aliens? I think they learned from the aliens, but they're using economics instead of weapons. That evening, Jake's father seemed more tired than usual. During dinner, Frank suddenly grabbed his chest and fell to the floor. Dad. Jake knelt beside him. His father's face was gray, and he was breathing hard. Jake checked his pulse. Too fast and irregular? Heart attack. He had seen it before in the war zone. I need to get you to the hospital, Jake said. The Nexus Medical Center was only 6 blocks away. Jake carried his father in his arms, his metal arm providing extra strength. He ran through the streets, not caring who saw him. At the hospital, a nurse looked at Frank's Nexus ID card. I'm sorry, but Mr. Morrison's credit rating is insufficient for cardiac care. What? Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. He's having a heart attack. Company policy. We can provide basic first aid, but advanced treatment requires proper payment authorization. Jake felt something cold and deadly settle in his chest. My father is dying, and you're talking about money? I'm sorry, but rules are rules. Jake pushed past the nurse into the emergency room. He found the equipment he needed and began treating his father himself. His military medical training took over. He administered oxygen, checked vital signs, and gave his father medication to slow his heart rate. A doctor arrived and tried to stop him. Sir, you can't just... I'm keeping him alive while you figure out your paperwork, Jake said. Are you going to help or get in my way? The doctor saw that Jake knew what he was doing. Are you medical? Army medic? Combat trained? They worked together for the next hour. Frank's condition stabilized. The doctor looked impressed. You saved his life. We would have lost him if you hadn't acted so quickly. Just doing what needs to be done. Later, while Frank rested, the doctor pulled Jake aside. I'm sorry about the insurance issue. Blake's people have been very strict about who gets care and who doesn't. Blake controls the hospital too. Blake controls everything. But between you and me, I'm glad you were here tonight. Your father is a good man. Jake walked home through the dark streets. He thought about what Sam had said. Total control over people's lives. Where they lived, worked, ate, and now even whether they lived or died. The next morning, Jake found Lisa at her usual spot behind the nutrition center. How are you at keeping secrets? He asked. Depends on the secret. I want to do something. About Blake and Nexus, but I need help. Lisa smiled for the first time since he'd met her. What did you have in mind? A meeting? All the veterans in town? Somewhere Blake can't watch us. I know a place. The old mine shaft up in the hills. It's been abandoned for years. That night, 4 people met in the dark mine tunnel. Jake, Lisa, Sam, and Alex Thompson. Alex was thin and quiet, but Jake could see the intelligence in his eyes. Blake thinks he's got us beaten, Jake said. He thinks veterans are just broken soldiers who can't fit into his new world. But he's wrong. What? Are you proposing? Alex asked. I'm proposing we show him what veterans are really good at. Adapting, overcoming, fighting back when fighting back is necessary. Lisa leaned forward. What kind of fighting? Not the kind that gets people killed. The kind that gets information. That exposes the truth. Shows people what Nexus is really doing to this town. Sam nodded slowly. I'm in. But we need to be smart about it. Blake has eyes everywhere. Then we become invisible, Jake said. We use what the military taught us. Reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, strategic planning. Alex spoke up. People who are tired of watching patients die because of company policy. And I have access to Nexus buildings, Lisa added. Nobody pays attention to the janitor. What about me? Sam asked. Jake smiled. You're going to teach us about explosives, not for bombs, but for understanding how Nexus security systems work. Everything has a weakness. They talked for 2 hours, planning and preparing. They finally left the mine, They weren't just for unemployed veterans anymore. They were a team with a mission. Blake had made a mistake. He thought veterans were dangerous because they might cause trouble. He was about to learn that veterans were dangerous because they knew how to solve problems, and Nexus Industries was about to become a problem that needed solving. Over the next 2 weeks, Jake's team worked carefully. They met at different places each time, sometimes in the old mine, sometimes in the abandoned church, sometimes in the forest outside town. Blake's security guards were watching, but veterans knew how to stay hidden. Lisa used her janitor job to gather information. She cleaned offices at night when nobody was around. She found important papers and took pictures with a small camera Alex had given her. What she discovered made everyone angry. "They're not just controlling us," Lisa told the group during a meeting in the forest. "They're studying us. I found reports about something called Project Control. They're testing how much they can push people before they fight back." Sam looked up from the security device he was examining. "I found something too. Their cameras and sensors are using technology I've never seen before. It's too advanced for Earth companies." Alex had been quiet during most meetings, but now he spoke up. "I've been talking to people at the hospital. Doctors are scared. They're being forced to use new medical equipment that doesn't make sense. Some of it looks like the alien technology we captured during the war." Jake felt cold inside. "Are you saying Nexus is working with the aliens?" "I'm saying the timing is very suspicious," Alex replied. "Nexus showed up right after the war ended. They have technology that shouldn't exist, and they're most afraid of the people who fought the aliens." The next day, Jake noticed more security guards around town. Blake had brought in reinforcements. These new guards looked different. They were bigger, stronger, and their eyes seemed empty. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. Jake was walking to the market when he saw something that made his blood boil. A teenage girl was crying outside the Nexus security building. Her father, a man Jake recognized as another veteran, was being dragged inside by 2 guards. The girl's name was Katie Murphy. Her father, Pete Murphy, had lost his leg in the war. Now he worked part-time at the supply depot, barely earning enough to feed his family. "What happened?" Jake asked Katie. "They said Dad stole something from the depot, but he didn't. He would never steal anything. They just took him away." Jake knew this was a lie. Pete Murphy was one of the most honest men in town, but Blake needed an excuse to arrest more veterans. Fear was his favorite weapon. That night, Jake and his team met in the old church. The situation was getting worse. Blake was moving faster than they had expected. "He's arresting veterans, one by one," Lisa said. "He's making up crimes to justify it. Pretty soon, we'll all be in jail." "Or worse," Sam added. "I heard they're building some kind of facility outside town. Heavy security. Nobody knows what it's for." Jake made a decision. "We need to move faster. Tonight we get Pete Murphy back, and we find out what Blake is really doing." The Nexus security building was heavily guarded, but Jake had a plan. Sam would create a distraction on the other side of town. Lisa would shut down the power grid from the control room she had access to. Alex would be ready with medical supplies in case someone got hurt. At midnight, Sam set off small explosions near the Nexus warehouse. Nothing dangerous, just loud noises and bright lights. Most of the security guards rushed to investigate. Lisa cut the power to the entire building. Emergency lights came on, but they were dim and created shadows. Everywhere, Jake used these shadows to sneak into the security building. His military training made him silent and invisible. He found Pete Murphy in a basement cell. The veteran was beaten, but alive. "Jake," Pete whispered. "What are you doing here? Getting you out. Can you walk?" "I think so." As they escaped through a back window, Jake heard voices from deeper in the basement. He recognized Captain Blake's voice, but the other voice was strange. It didn't sound human. Jake helped Pete to the meeting point where Alex was waiting. The medic quickly treated Pete's injuries while Jake told the others what he had heard. There was someone else with Blake, someone who didn't sound right. We need to find out who or what it was. The next morning, Blake was furious. He declared martial law in Millbrook. No one could leave their homes after dark. Security patrols increased. Anyone caught outside without permission would be arrested. But Blake had made another mistake. By pushing too hard, he had made the townspeople angry instead of scared. People began talking quietly about the old days, about freedom and democracy, about the rights that were being taken away. Jake realized that teenage girls like Katie Murphy were perfect messengers. They could move around town without suspicion. He began using them to carry messages between houses. Soon, a network of resistance was growing. An old woman named Helen Roberts volunteered her basement for meetings. A shopkeeper named Bob Martinez began hiding supplies for the resistance. Even some of the Nexus workers started helping secretly. But the most important discovery came from Lisa. While cleaning Blake's office, she found a hidden room behind a bookshelf. Inside were computers and equipment that definitely wasn't human-made. She took pictures of everything. When the team saw the pictures, they knew the truth. The computers had alien writing on them, the same writing they had seen on Vex Coalition ships during the war. Blake isn't just working with aliens, Jake said. He might be controlled by them. Alex studied the pictures carefully. Look at this device. It looks like the mind control equipment the Vex used on prisoners, but it's been modified. Modified how? To work on humans? Jake, I think Blake has one of these devices in his head. That's why he's so different from normal people. That's why he hates veterans so much. Sam slammed his fist on the table. The aliens lost the war, so they found another way to attack us, through corporations and corruption. Jake felt everything fall into place. That's why they're afraid of veterans. We know how to fight the Vex. We've seen their technology before. We can recognize the signs. Lisa pulled out more pictures. There's something else. I found plans for that facility Sam mentioned. It's not a prison. It's a factory. They're planning to build mind control devices for humans all across Earth. Room went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. If Nexus succeeded, all of humanity would become slaves to alien masters. The war that everyone thought was over had just begun again. Jake stood up. We have to stop them. Not just for Millbrook, but for everyone. How? Alex asked. We're just for people against a corporation with alien technology. Jake smiled grimly. We do what humans do best. We adapt. We improvise. Find a way to win when winning seems impossible. Katie Murphy appeared at the basement door. She looked scared but determined. Mr. Morrison, something terrible has happened. They took my dad again. But this time, they took 10 other people too. They're loading them into trucks and taking them to that facility. Jake grabbed his jacket. Then we're out of time. Tonight, we end this. Jake's team had 6 hours before Blake moved the prisoners to the alien facility. 6 hours to save 10 people and expose the truth to the world. It seemed impossible, but Jake had done impossible things before. The plan was complex but simple. Sam would use his explosives knowledge to create a diversion at the Nexus power plant. Lisa would hack into their computer systems and broadcast evidence to news stations across the country. Alex would rescue the prisoners while Jake confronted Blake directly. But first, they needed help from the townspeople. Jake stood in Helen Roberts' basement, surrounded by 30 people who had lost everything to Nexus. They were scared, but they were also angry. I won't lie to you, Jake said. This is dangerous. Blake has weapons and trained soldiers. Some of you might get hurt. But if we don't act tonight, those prisoners will disappear forever. And tomorrow, it might be your families. Bob Martinez raised his hand. What do you need us to do? Create chaos. Make noise. Keep Blake's security busy while we work. Most importantly, record everything. Use your phones, your cameras. The world needs to see what's happening here. Helen Roberts stepped forward. My grandson died fighting aliens. If there are still aliens to fight, then we fight them. The townspeople dispersed to their assignments. Jake checked his weapons one last time, his military sidearm and his metal arm, which was stronger than any normal hand. At exactly midnight, Sam's explosions lit up the night sky. The power plant erupted in harmless but spectacular fireworks. Every security guard in town rushed toward the explosions. Lisa slipped into the Nexus Communication Center. Janitor's keycard still worked. She plugged Alex's computer device into their main system and began uploading everything they had. Discovered. Pictures of the alien technology. Audio recordings of Blake's threats. Evidence of the mind control experiments. Meanwhile, Jake made his way to the Nexus facility outside town. It was a large building surrounded by fences and guard towers, but most of the guards had gone to deal with Sam's distraction. Jake cut through the fence using tools Sam had given him. His military stealth training made him invisible in the darkness. He found the building where the prisoners were being held. Alex was already there, having approached from the other side. Together, they disabled the 2 remaining guards and freed the prisoners. Pete Murphy was there, along with 9 other veterans and civilians. They were going to put something in our heads, Pete whispered. Some kind of device. Blake said it would make us better citizens. Jake felt sick. The aliens weren't just controlling Blake. They were planning to control everyone. Get these people to safety, Jake told Alex. I have business with Blake. Jake found Blake in the main laboratory. The captain was standing in front of a large screen showing alien symbols. He wasn't alone. 3 figures in dark robes stood beside him. When they turned toward Jake, he saw their faces weren't human anymore. Gray skin, black eyes, and expressions of cold intelligence. Jake Morrison, Blake said, without turning around. I wondered when you would show up. Let me guess, Jake replied. You're not really Blake anymore, are you? Blake turned around. His eyes were completely black now, just like the aliens beside him. Captain Blake was weak, wanted money and power, but he lacked vision. We gave him purpose. One of the aliens stepped forward. We are the Vex Coalition. You thought you defeated us in space, but we simply changed our strategy. Why conquer planets when we can conquer minds? Jake kept his voice steady. The war isn't over. War was never about territory, human. It was about proving that your species is inferior. You fight well, but you cannot resist corruption. Own greed made this possible. Blake pulled out a strange weapon that glowed with alien energy. Surrender, Morrison. Join us willingly, and your death will be quick. Jake smiled. You know what your mistake was? You picked the wrong species to mess with. The alien looked confused. Explain, humans don't just fight hard. We fight smart. Lisa, now. Suddenly, every screen in the facility lit up with news broadcasts. Lisa had successfully uploaded their evidence to television stations across Earth. The images of alien technology and mind control devices were being broadcast worldwide. Aliens hissed in anger. You have accomplished nothing. By tomorrow, your government will deny everything. Maybe, Jake said. But you forgot something else about humans. We don't give up. Jake lunged forward, using his metal arm to block Blake's alien weapon. Energy blast meant to kill him instead, powered up his cybernetic arm.
Ow.
Jake's military engineers had built it using captured alien technology. It was designed to absorb and redirect alien energy. Blake fired again, and again Jake's arm absorbed the power. Now his metal hand was glowing with the same energy as the alien weapons. It's impossible, the aliens said. That's what you said when we beat you in space, Jake replied. He grabbed Blake with his powered-up metal arm. The alien mind control device in Blake's head overloaded and shut down. The captain collapsed, suddenly human again but unconscious. The 3 aliens tried to escape, but Sam's explosions had brought military helicopters from the nearby airbase. Soldiers surrounded the facility. These weren't Nexus security guards. These were real Earth military who had been alerted by Lisa's broadcasts. The aliens were captured within minutes. Their technology was secured. Their plans were exposed to the world 3 months later. Jake stood in front of the restored Millbrook Town Hall. The Nexus buildings were being torn down. The corporate housing was being converted back to real homes. His father was living in their old house again, which the government had returned to them. Captain Blake was in a military hospital, recovering from the alien mind control. He remembered everything and was helping military scientists understand. The alien technology Jake had been offered a job with Earth Defense Forces, hunting down other alien infiltration attempts. He had accepted, but not before establishing the Millbrook Veterans Center, where former soldiers could get real help adjusting to civilian life. Lisa was training to be a pilot again, this time for the space patrol that watched for alien threats. Sam was teaching explosive detection at the military academy. Alex had opened a clinic that used both human and captured alien medical technology to help people. Katie Murphy brought Jake a letter one afternoon. It was from the President of Earth thanking him for his service and awarding him the highest civilian honor. Jake looked at the letter, then at his hometown. Children were playing in the park again. People were walking around without fear. Old Pete Murphy was teaching his grandson to fish in the stream behind their house. This was what he had fought for. Not just to defeat aliens in space, but to protect the human way of life. The freedom to choose your own path. The right to live without fear. The aliens had been right about one thing. Humans could be corrupted by greed and power, but they had been wrong about something much more important. When humans were threatened, they didn't just fight back. They fought together, and together humans were stronger than any alien technology could ever be. Jake folded the letter and put it in his pocket. Somewhere out there, other aliens might be planning other attacks, but they would find the same thing. The Vex Coalition had learned humanity didn't just survive. Humanity thrived, and they never, ever gave up.